Welcome, dear listener, to another slow and soothing journey through the past. Today we drift softly along the banks of the mighty Nile and step gently into the world of ancient Egypt, a land of golden sands, towering pyramids, and quiet, disciplined rhythms that shaped every day of life beneath the sun. As we move together through the fields, workshops, temples, and riverbanks, imagine yourself walking barefoot along the soft mud of the Nile, feeling the warmth of the morning sun and hearing the gentle lapping of water against reeds. Every step invites calm reflection. Every sound guides you toward rest. And every glimpse into daily life allows your mind to wander through history at a pace meant for relaxation. Before we continue further into this meditative exploration, we'd love to hear from you. Where are you joining us from today? Let us know in the comments below. It is always fascinating to feel the global tapestry of listeners who share this quiet journey through time. Now take a deep breath, let the world outside grow distant, and let us begin with the soft, measured rhythm of morning along the Nile. Part 1. Morning along the Nile. The first light of dawn stretches softly over the Nile, brushing the tops of the papyrus reeds with a gentle golden glow. Imagine yourself standing on the riverbank, the cool morning air filled with the earthy scent of wet soil and the faint sweetness of blossoms that dot the river's edge. A quiet mist rises from the water, drifting lazily over the current, and the distant cries of birds slowly awake from their night's rest. Here, in this serene moment, time itself seems to breathe slowly, as if inviting you to move gently through the rhythms of life that have persisted along this river for millennia. Along the water's edge, farmers begin their day in a measured, patient rhythm. Their bare feet sink softly into the damp mud, leaving impressions that the Nile will later smooth away. Canals and irrigation channels gleam in the first light, reflecting the pale sky, and the quiet gurgle of water flowing through them becomes a natural melody, steady and calm. The farmers lift their tools with careful deliberation, the wooden handles worn smooth by years of use, the metal edges glinting faintly in the soft light. Each movement is deliberate, unhurried, and in harmony with the flow of water and the rising sun. The fields are alive, but not with sudden motion. Cattle and donkeys graze along the edges of furrows, their hooves pressing softly into the moist earth. The farmers guide them with low murmurs and gentle tugs, voices carrying only as far as necessary. Every sound is a part of the landscape's natural chorus, blending with the hiss of flowing water, the rustle of reeds, and the distant flap of birds' wings. You can feel the quiet discipline of this life, where survival and sustenance depend upon steady attention, patience, and careful observation of the land. In these moments, time seems to slow. The sun climbs higher, its warmth gradually filling the air, warming the soil, and stirring small insects to life. The aroma of the river mixes with the faint tank of clay and mud, and the farmers inhale deeply, grounding themselves in the rhythm of the day. Their work is not hurried. It is guided by the slow, deliberate flow of the Nile itself. As they plant, irrigate, and tend to crops, there is an almost meditative quality to their movements, a quiet repetition that soothes both body and mind. Nearby, children awaken in small mud brick homes, the scent of bread beginning to rise from simple ovens, mingling with the cool morning air. They stretch and yawn, stepping softly across packed earth floors, as they prepare for a day that will mirror that of their parents, filled with observation, learning, and gentle labor. Even their play is tempered by the rhythms of daily life, the tossing of clay figures, the careful stacking of small stones, the imitation of adult tasks, all carried out with a calm patience that seems to echo the pulse of the river itself. Fishermen, too, greet the day with the same quiet attentiveness. Their boats, small and low to the water, glide silently along the current, paddles dipping into the river with barely a ripple. The water, cool and smooth beneath their craft, carries the reflection of the pale morning sky, and the gentle lapping against the hull becomes part of the symphony of soft sounds along the banks. Nets are cast and drawn with deliberate care, movements honed by practice and observation, each catch met with quiet gratitude and gentle attention to the cycle of life that the river provides. Everywhere along the Nile, the interplay between human life and natural rhythms is evident. The sun climbs higher, its warmth intensifying slowly but predictably, casting long shadows from palm fronds and reeds. The river reflects the light like a moving mirror, shimmering softly as gentle breezes ripple its surface. Small fish dart near the shallows, their silvery bodies catching the light, and the occasional splash of water serves as a punctuation in the quiet cadence of the morning. Life is active, yet unhurried, deliberate, yet flowing naturally with the environment. The village elders emerge from their homes, moving slowly toward communal spaces. Their robes whisper softly against the earth, and the faint clinking of jewelry or adornments becomes a quiet accent in the morning chorus. These men and women carry with them centuries of knowledge and experience, the memory of planting seasons, flooding cycles, and local customs. They speak softly among themselves, sharing observations and reminders, their voices gentle and measured, guiding younger villagers in the subtleties of work, respect, and attention to the land and river. As the sun continues its ascent, the smell of cooking fills the air. Simple grains are roasted or ground, herbs and small vegetables are washed, and the aroma of freshly baked bread rises from ovens. Mingling with the warm earthiness of the Nile and the soft fragrance of reeds, the villagers prepare for the first meal of the day with careful attention, measuring, stirring, and tending to food with the same deliberate care they devote to their fields. Every small act, the folding of dough, the gentle turning of a fire, the sprinkling of salt, becomes part of the meditative rhythm of life along the river. In the fields, the labor continues in quiet harmony. Farmers guide water into furrows, observing the soil, listening to the subtle sounds of moisture flowing through channels, adjusting their efforts with patient attention. Hands roughened by work move smoothly and confidently over plants and earth, cultivating sustenance that will nourish the village. The sound of water flowing over the edge of a canal, the faint scrape of a hoe, the murmur of voices. These combine into a soft, constant rhythm that lulls the mind into gentle focus, inviting reflection and calm. Even the animals participate in this quiet symphony. Goats and sheep graze without haste, their soft bleats blending with the river's song. Ducks glide through calm waters, their movement gentle and purposeful, leaving ripples that fade slowly into the reflective surface. Cattle move steadily across mud and grass, following the guidance of the farmer's quiet commands. The natural and human elements together create a living tapestry of slow, measured motion, a meditation in motion, as if every being knows its role and place along the Nile as the morning advances. Workers carry water from the river to higher fields, their arms and shoulders bearing the gentle weight of jars, their careful steps preventing spillage. The sound of water sloshing softly in clay containers accompanies their movements, and each gesture seems guided by long practice, repetition, and observation. The rhythm is unbroken, steady, and purposeful, a tangible connection between human effort and natural cycles. Small boats drift lazily downriver, carrying passengers or light cargo, each movement smooth and deliberate. The faint creak of oars, the ripple of water against wood, and the quiet murmur of conversation aboard these crafts enhance the sense of calm. You can imagine the gentle rocking of a boat beneath your feet, the warmth of the sun soft on your skin, the faint, comforting smell of river water. Every element contributes to a sense of peace and presence, grounding the mind and spirit in the slow, attentive flow of life. By mid-morning, the sun fully illuminates the riverbanks, yet the work continues with deliberate, unhurried care. The rhythm of planting, tending, and preparing meals flows naturally into one another, creating a sense of continuity and balance. The villagers are fully immersed in their tasks, but always with gentle awareness of each other, of the land, of the river, and of the delicate balance that sustains them. There is no rush, no urgency, only the soft, persistent flow of activity, shaped by observation, repetition, and mindfulness. The sensory details of the day deepen this meditative immersion.
The rough texture of clay under fingertips.
The gentle spray of water from an irrigation channel. the faint scent of papyrus and river mud, the warmth of the sun against skin, the soft murmur of birds and animals, all combine to create a tapestry of calm, quiet attentiveness. Here, along the Nile, every movement and sensation is amplified by awareness, slow observation, and a gentle acceptance of the natural order. Even in moments of rest, the rhythm persists. Villagers pause to drink, to wash their hands, to straighten clothing, or adjust sun shields. Every gesture is small, but deliberate, part of the ongoing flow of life, recognition that even minor actions contribute to sustenance, comfort, and continuity. In this gentle attentiveness, there is a quiet form of meditation, an engagement with the present that allows the mind to wander softly, while remaining grounded in the tangible reality of the river and its people. As the sun climbs toward its zenith, you can sense the flow of time through the slow, steady patterns of work, rest, and reflection. The farmers, children, fishermen, and elders all participate in this measured choreography, each aware of their role, each contributing to the continuity of life along the Nile. The river, ever present, carries reflections of sky and land, ripples of movement, and the soft echoes of human and animal activity, shaping the sensory experience into a gentle, persistent rhythm that calms, steadies, and soothes the mind. In this first scene, the morning along the Nile introduces you to the subtle balance of ancient Egyptian life. The combination of labor and reflection, the interplay of human effort and natural rhythm, and the meditative awareness of presence that guides every action. As you follow the villagers, farmers, and fishermen through the slow, deliberate cadence of their day, you begin to feel the same. Calm, attentive rhythm, settling within yourself, preparing your mind and spirit for the journeys and reflections yet to come beneath the pyramids. Part 2. The Village Craftsmen. As the sun rises higher along the Nile, casting its warm light over the riverbanks and fields, we turn our gaze toward the quieter corners of village life, the workshops of the craftsmen. Here, the rhythms of labor differ from the flowing motions of the river or the steady work in the fields. Each step, each gesture, each touch carries the weight of precision, tradition, and patience. Imagine yourself walking along a narrow, sun-warmed path between mud brick homes, following the soft clatter of tools against wood, clay, and stone. The air carries the scents of earth, water, and resin, mingling into a quiet, grounding perfume that invites attention without urgency. The first workshop you encounter is that of the potters. Clay is pressed gently between fingers, kneaded, and shaped with careful deliberation. The texture is smooth, cool, and moist, occasionally flecked with tiny grains of sand that slip softly between fingers.
Ow!
Each coil and curve of a vessel is created with steady, repetitive motions, practiced over countless days. You can hear the faint scrape of a tool tracing designs along a rim, the soft tapping of a wooden paddle, and the occasional sigh or murmur of satisfaction when a shape comes together exactly as intended. There is no rush here, only the quiet discipline of touch, observation, and patience. Nearby, carpenters work with the warm, fragrant wood of acacia and sycamore. Imagine the feel of shavings curling from the blade of a chisel, the soft scent of sawdust hanging in the air, and the steady rhythm of mallet against chisel. Each cut, each groove, each smoothing of the surface is a gentle conversation between the craftsman and the material. Hands move with awareness, eyes follow the lines, and the mind hovers calmly over measurement and proportion. A small apprentice may watch quietly, learning the subtleties of technique through observation rather than instruction, absorbing the rhythm of work like a flowing river. Stoneworkers also occupy a modest section of the village, shaping sandstone and limestone for both functional and decorative purposes. Here, the touch is heavier, yet deliberate. You can feel the slight vibration of hammer against chisel, the gradual wearing down of rough edges, and the soft dust that rises slowly into the warm morning air. Every strike is measured, guided by knowledge passed through generations, ensuring that stone yields its form gently rather than violently. The work is repetitive, soothing in its cadence. And even the sound of tools becomes a comforting backdrop, a soft percussion in the quiet morning. The craftsmen share their spaces and their attention, moving with a natural awareness of one another. The potter pauses to examine a freshly shaped vase. The carpenter steps aside to adjust a wooden panel. And the stoneworker tilts a block just so to catch the light for inspection. Each motion is precise, deliberate, and careful, reflecting both the demands of the craft and the meditative rhythm of mastery. The village hums softly with these quiet activities, a symphony of human diligence, patience, and quiet artistry. Children often linger nearby, watching or imitating the motions of their elders with small pieces of clay or wood. Their movements are hesitant, yet purposeful, guided by observation and gentle correction. In this gentle immersion, the child learns more than the technique. They absorb the patience, the attentive presence, and the quiet satisfaction that comes from shaping materials with care. The sound of small hands pressing clay, scraping a stick along wood, or tapping lightly on stone blends seamlessly into the larger rhythm of the workshop. As the morning deepens, apprentices begin to assist in small ways, carrying water for clay, adjusting tools, or sweeping floors. Each action, though seemingly minor, contributes to the larger pattern of work and care. There is a sense of continuity here, a recognition that the cycles of practice, repetition, and observation maintain the flow of life and sustain the village itself. Every motion is connected to another, and every small contribution matters, even if it is quiet, almost imperceptible. The smell of resin and polished wood lingers in the air, mingling with the earthy scent of wet clay. Dust rises slowly from stone and sand, settling gently on hands, hair, and the ground, only to be disturbed by the next careful movement. The tactile experience is immersive. The cool slip of clay against fingertips, the coarse grain of wood under the palm, the rough edges of limestone smoothed by deliberate strikes. Each sensation invites calm attention, a slow, mindful awareness of the physical world and the labor that shapes it. There is a gentle social rhythm to the workshop as well. Craftsmen exchange quiet words of advice, nods of acknowledgement, or brief gestures of approval. These interactions are subdued, never hurried or boisterous, allowing the mind to linger on observation and reflection. The rhythm of conversation mirrors the rhythm of work, measured, deliberate, and imbued with subtle understanding. You can imagine the soft smiles, the quiet encouragement, and the patient correction that guide both masters and apprentices alike. The midday sun climbs higher, casting long, warm shadows across the workshops. The light illuminates the smooth curves of a pot, the glint of a chisel, or the grain of a polished panel. Movement slows naturally, breaths deepen, and the world seems to settle into a calm, reflective pace. Craftsmen pause occasionally to inspect their work from different angles, allowing both eyes and hands to rest before resuming. These pauses, though brief, are rich with observation, reflection, and quiet satisfaction. Meals are simple and unhurried, often taken within the shade of a nearby tree or the cool interior of a workshop. The scent of baked bread, roasted grains, and fresh herbs mingles softly with the materials of labor: clay, wood, and stone. Conversation at these times is gentle, reflective, and focused on observation or shared knowledge rather than excitement. Even eating becomes a part of the rhythmic meditation of the day, a moment to nourish body while allowing mind and spirit to drift slowly, gently, and quietly. Returning to work after the meal, the afternoon carries a similar pattern of movement, sound, and sensation. The potter may smooth the surface of a vessel, the carpenter may sand a panel, and the stoneworker may chisel a decorative motif. The repetition of motion, the soft feedback from material to hand, and the careful attention to detail cultivate a meditative state, where time expands and attention narrows to the present moment. The craftsman and the material engage in a quiet dialogue, each shaping the other in slow, deliberate harmony. You can notice, too, the unspoken beauty in imperfection. A slightly uneven curve, a minor deviation in grain, or a small irregularity in stone becomes part of the character and story of the work. There is no rush to perfection. The emphasis is on attentive presence, gentle care, and continuity. These small variations remind the observer and the craftsman that life itself is composed of subtle irregularities, moments of imperfection, quiet adjustments, all woven into the rhythm of existence along the Nile. By late afternoon, shadows lengthen and the light softens, bathing workshops and courtyards in warm amber hues. The river glimmers in the distance, a reminder of the natural flow that underpins every aspect of life in the village. Tools are cleaned, hands are washed, and materials are stored carefully for the next day. There is a gentle sense of closure in these motions, a recognition that the day's labor has been meaningful not only in practical results, but in the cultivation of attention, skill, and quiet satisfaction. Evening approaches, and the soundscape shifts subtly. Birds settle among the reeds, the distant splash of water becomes softer, and the murmur of human activity slows. Craftsmen pause to observe their work, run hands lightly along finished surfaces, and take small moments to reflect upon the day's rhythm. There is a quiet pride in these gestures, not loud or ostentatious, but deeply rooted in the satisfaction of careful, sustained attention, and the gentle continuity of practice passed through generations. As the sun dips toward the horizon, casting long shadows across the village, the workshops fall into soft quiet. Clay cools slowly, wood and stones settle in place, and the gentle light illuminates textures, grains, and surfaces with a soft, contemplative glow. The craftsmen move homeward, or prepare for simple evening rituals, carrying with them a sense of rhythm, presence, and meditative satisfaction. Their hands, bodies, and minds remain connected to the work of the day, yet they allow themselves the gentle release that comes with evening's approach. In this first immersion into village craftsmanship, you have witnessed a world defined by patience, precision, and quiet reflection. Each touch, sound, and scent has been a gentle guide, carrying you alongside the villagers as they shape their tools, their materials, and their lives. Here, beneath the rising sun and over the fertile banks of the Nile, labor becomes a meditation, repetition a comfort, and observation a form of gentle, restorative awareness. As night approaches and the village grows still, the workshops settle into a calm hush. The memory of touch, sound, and movement lingers, preparing the mind to drift into the next stage of life in ancient Egypt. The shared nourishment, subtle rituals, and enduring continuity that define a civilization built upon quiet attentiveness and steady care. Part 3. The Bread and Beer Makers. As the sun climbs higher over the banks of the Nile, its gentle warmth reaches into the shaded corners of the village where bread is kneaded and beer is brewed. Imagine yourself stepping quietly into these small, bustling spaces. The air is thick with comforting aromas. The earthy sweetness of freshly ground grain, the faintly tangy scent of fermenting beer, and the subtle warmth of bread baking in small clay ovens. These smells mingle in a quiet symphony, a reminder that even the simplest labors carry richness, care, and the gentle rhythms of daily life. In a shaded courtyard, a group of women and men begin the slow, deliberate process of grinding grain. Stones rotate carefully against each other, wearing the husk and kernel into a fine powder. Each movement is deliberate and practiced, the repetitive grind producing a steady rhythm that blends with the soft murmur of conversation. You can almost hear the faint scrape of stone on stone, a subtle, soothing cadence that sets the pace for the day. Hands dusted with flour move with skill, pressing, turning, and coaxing the grain into life. The next step is kneading. Imagine the soft resistance of dough under fingertips, yielding yet springy pliable under pressure. The kneading is rhythmic and deliberate, each fold and press a small meditation. A conversation between the maker and the bread. You might notice the warmth radiating from the dough, the faint sticky texture on palms, and the comforting scent rising with each movement. The women hum softly as they work, their voices low and even, creating a lullaby of ordinary labor, repeated across generations. Small apprentices often linger nearby, practicing with tiny amounts of flour and water, learning the feel of dough, the gentle press and pull. and the quiet patience required to coax sustenance from simple ingredients. Their motions are slower, tentative, but guided by observation and the subtle encouragement of elders. In these moments, the rhythm of work becomes a form of gentle meditation, a soft, repetitive engagement that calms the mind while shaping both hands and character. Once kneaded, dough is shaped into small loaves, each pressed and folded carefully before being placed in the clay oven. The ovens themselves are simple but precise, small domes of brick or clay that trap heat gently. Flames burn steadily, producing a slow, even warmth. The aroma of baking bread rises gradually, filling the courtyard with a comforting, pervasive presence. You can imagine the soft, satisfying smell wrapping around you, mingling with the warm air of the day, creating an atmosphere of calm and sustained attention. Nearby, beer brewing continues with equal care. Grain is soaked in water, mashed gently, and left to ferment in clay vessels. The process is slow and deliberate, requiring patience and quiet observation. You might notice the subtle bubbling of fermentation, the faintly sweet and yeasty aroma, and the way the mixture changes gradually over time. The makers stir gently, taste cautiously, and adjust with care, ensuring that the final product is both nourishing and satisfying. The attention to process, the slow unfolding of transformation, mirrors the meditative rhythm of kneading bread. A gentle reminder that care and patience are essential in sustaining life. Children watch quietly, learning through observation. Some practice pouring water or stirring small quantities under supervision, absorbing the subtle details, the texture of dough, the movement of a wooden paddle, the smell of grain soaking in warm water. Their small hands move with care, tentative but purposeful, guided by the steady rhythm of adult labor. In this soft attentiveness, they absorb more than technique. They learn patience, observation, and the quiet satisfaction of contributing to communal sustenance. The day unfolds slowly. Loaves are rotated in the oven to ensure even baking, and beer vessels are covered and checked. Every action is deliberate, measured, and attended with mindful presence. The rhythm of activity, grind, knead, shape, bake, soak, stir, ferment, observe, provides a gentle cadence to the morning. The repetitive motions are soothing, a quiet background to reflection and attentive observation, inviting you to move through the scene with calm awareness. Outside, the sun casts shifting patterns of light across the courtyard. Shadows of reeds sway gently over packed earth floors, and the occasional soft sound of wind brushing against clay walls adds to the sensory texture. The aroma of baking bread mingles with the warmth of sunlight and the faint scent of river mud from nearby fields. Every detail contributes to a slowly unfolding meditative environment, where the ordinary acts of sustenance become a landscape of calm reflection. Even the smallest details are infused with attention. A crumb falling from a loaf is noticed and removed carefully. A stray handful of grain is returned to the vessel. Clay lids on fermenting beer are adjusted with gentle precision. Each small gesture matters, each movement is deliberate, and every sensory experience is amplified by awareness. You can imagine the quiet satisfaction that comes from tending the materials, observing their transformation, and participating fully in the slow, ongoing work of life along the Nile. By midday, the village courtyard is filled with the soft, warm fragrance of baked loaves cooling in the gentle sun. Beer vessels bubble quietly, their contents developing subtly, releasing soft scents that mingle with the sweetness of grain and the warmth of clay ovens. The rhythmic, unhurried activity continues, punctuated by moments of reflection, gentle conversation, and observation. There is no rush. There is only the careful, attentive unfolding of daily life, each task completed in its own time, each process observed with mindfulness. The social rhythm of the courtyard is soft and steady. Workers exchange quiet words of guidance, approval, or observation. The apprentice may be corrected gently or praised softly for careful attention. These exchanges are understated yet meaningful, forming a gentle undercurrent of human connection. The rhythm of collaboration and shared focus mirrors the physical rhythm of labor, creating a full sensory and emotional environment that is calming and immersive. Occasionally, the river provides a gentle interlude. A light breeze carries the soft ripple of water against reeds or small boats drifting past, adding a natural percussion to the human activity. The sound blends effortlessly with the scraping of tools, the patting of dough, and the soft bubble of fermentation, creating a subtle symphony that lulls the mind into reflective calm. Each sound, each motion, each scent contributes to an atmosphere that invites observation without urgency, awareness without distraction. Children move in slow, deliberate play between tasks, imitating adults with small pieces of dough or stirring utensils. Their curiosity is balanced by the careful guidance of elders, their hands learning the textures of materials, their senses absorbing the gentle smells and sounds around them. Even play becomes a form of quiet meditation, a way of practicing presence, patience, and attention in the same rhythm that guides adult labor. By mid-afternoon, the bread is fully baked, and the beer has begun its gentle transformation. Loaves are carefully removed from ovens, set to cool, and inspected with quiet satisfaction. Beer is stirred softly, taste tested with cautious attention, and returned to its vessels for further fermentation. The day progresses gently, each task attended with mindful presence, each process unfolding at its natural pace. The village courtyard hums softly with life, each participant connected to the larger rhythm of sustenance, craft, and quiet observation. The light softens as the sun begins its descent, casting long shadows across walls and packed earth. The warmth lingers, mingling with the faint aromas of baking bread and fermenting grain. Tools are cleaned and stored, ovens cooled, and vessels sealed with care. Workers pause to observe their labor, running hands along smooth surfaces, inhaling faint scents, and reflecting on the quiet satisfaction of a day completed with attention, patience, and care. Evening brings subtle shifts. Birds return to their nests, small animals move quietly among reeds, and the distant flow of the Nile becomes softer, gentler. The courtyard grows still, the last movements of bread and beer makers measured and deliberate. The air cools slightly, carrying the lingering warmth of sun-warmed earth and the comforting fragrance of grain. The village settles into calm, reflective silence, the meditative rhythm of labor giving way to the quiet attentiveness of evening. In this scene, you have witnessed the delicate and deliberate world of bread and beer making in ancient Egypt. Each motion, scent, and sound has been part of a gentle meditation, a rhythmic unfolding of labor, presence, and reflection. It's the soft repetition, slow transformations, and attentive care invite your own mind to slow, to breathe, and to drift gently along the same currents that guide life along the Nile. As the day fades and the warm light softens into twilight, the memories of kneading, grinding, and brewing linger softly, carrying you forward into the next stage of village life, the labor on monuments, the slow shaping of stone, and the quiet rituals that sustain both body and spirit beneath the pyramids. Part 4. Labor on the monuments. As the sun climbs high and warms the riverbanks, you move beyond the village courtyard to where the monumental structures of ancient Egypt begin to take shape. Imagine yourself standing quietly on the soft, sun-warmed sand, the scent of baked earth mixing with the faint fragrance of the Nile drifting in from the river. In the distance, massive blocks of limestone and sandstone lie in neat rows, waiting to be lifted, carved, and set into the growing walls of temples and pyramids. Here, the rhythm of life shifts from the gentle domestic tasks of bread, beer, and crafts to the slow, deliberate labor that transforms stone into structures meant to endure for eternity. Workers arrive early, their movements unhurried but purposeful. Sandals crunch softly against packed earth as men and women carry tools. Baskets of stone fragments, or bundles of reeds for scaffolding. Hands calloused from repeated work, move with confidence and care, balancing weight and pressure with precision. Every step is measured, every gesture deliberate, echoing the same slow, patient rhythm we have observed along the Nile and in the workshops of craftsmen. Large limestone blocks are prepared for transport from quarries, Imagine the feel of rough stone under your fingers, the faint grit leaving traces on your hands, the warmth of the sun seeping into your back as you guide a block along carefully prepared sledges. Workers move in synchrony, their murmured instructions and soft encouragements blending with the faint scrape of wood against stone and the quiet patter of sand displaced by each step. The labor is repetitive, demanding attention to both detail and force, yet carried out with an underlying gentleness and awareness of rhythm. Carvers begin their work on the stones already positioned, etching hieroglyphs, decorative motifs, or symbolic imagery into surfaces that will endure through centuries. Chisels tap lightly, a soft percussion that punctuates the otherwise gentle silence of the site. Hands move with care, following familiar patterns, and eyes trace lines over surfaces with patient scrutiny. Dust rises in slow pale clouds, settling gradually on skin, clothing, and surrounding stones, mingling with the scent of sun-warmed limestone. Each mark is deliberate, each groove measured, and each moment of observation a quiet meditation on permanence and precision. Apprentices watch from the sidelines, learning through observation. Their small hands may hold chisels or brushes lightly, practicing strokes in sand or softer stone. Follow the master carver with patient attentiveness, absorbing both the visible motions and the subtle rhythm of work. Inhale, lift, tap, pause, observe, adjust, repeat. Even these quiet exercises carry a meditative quality, allowing young minds to engage with the material world in a gentle, patient rhythm that mirrors the cycles of nature and labor along the Nile. Scaffolding rises slowly along walls, built with careful placement of reeds, wooden beams, and mud brick platforms. Workers climb with deliberate movements, balancing weight with attention to every step. The soft creak of wooden beams, the occasional whisper of a colleague above or below, and the faint rustle of sand shifting beneath their feet form a calm, continuous soundscape. Each action is measured and precise, guided by both necessity and centuries of inherited knowledge. The labor is physically demanding, yet infused with rhythm and attentiveness that make it both enduring and steady. The placement of stone blocks onto these scaffolds is performed with coordinated care. Ropes and pulleys allow slow, controlled movement, and murmured instructions guide each adjustment. The sound of stone sliding gently over wood, the soft friction of sand beneath sledges, and the rhythmic tapping of wooden mallets create a layered, subtle melody. There is no rush. Every block, every chisel mark, every scaffold adjustment is performed with attention to detail, maintaining both safety and precision. The rhythm of the site is deliberate, immersive, and meditative. Laborers take periodic pauses, resting briefly on stone blocks or shaded areas, drinking from small vessels of water carried from the Nile. Each pause is quiet, reflective, and synchronized with the natural rhythm of the day. Inhale, exhale, observe, prepare for the next action. Hands wipe sweat from brows, clothing is adjusted, and eyes sweep the horizon, checking progress with measured care. These small rituals of rest and observation are as integral to the work as lifting stones or carving hieroglyphs, allowing both body and mind to maintain steady presence throughout the day. Children may be present at the site, quietly assisting or observing, carrying small stones or bringing water to laborers. Their steps are careful, their attention gentle, and their presence blends with the larger rhythm of work. In this way, the practice of monumental construction becomes not only a labor of necessity, but a slow, meditative education, passing knowledge, patience, attentiveness from one generation to the next. Evening approaches and the light softens, casting long, warm shadows across the site. The golden glow illuminates carved surfaces, highlights the textures of stone, and softens the edges of scaffolding. Workers pause to admire progress, run fingers lightly along inscriptions, and reflect quietly on the day's labor. The air carries the lingering warmth of sun-baked stone and the gentle scent of river mud, mingling into a calm, grounding sensory experience. The river itself remains a constant companion. From a distance, its waters glimmer faintly in the fading light, reflecting both sky and structure. The sound of gentle ripples and occasional bird calls merges with the rhythm of human labor, forming a continuous, soothing cadence. You can imagine standing quietly along the edge of this labor site, feeling the textures of sand and stone beneath your feet, hearing the soft symphony of work and nature, and noticing the gentle harmony that exists when human endeavor moves in rhythm with the environment. By the late afternoon, most laborers begin to descend from scaffolds, carefully lowering tools and materials to ground level. The soundscape shifts slightly. The rhythmic tapping of chisels becomes less frequent. The gentle friction of sledges slows, and the soft murmur of workers speaking diminishes as people move toward rest. Hands are washed, tools are cleaned, and unfinished work is left in a state of quiet readiness for the next day. There is a palpable sense of satisfaction in these motions. Work completed with attention. Patience and careful precision carries a subtle but deep calm. As twilight settles over the desert horizon, the sight becomes bathed in soft, fading light. Shadows stretch across stone surfaces, hieroglyphs and carvings catching the last rays of the sun. The air cools slightly, carrying the faint warmth of sun-baked sand. The earthy aroma of limestone and the soft scent of reeds drifting from the Nile. The laborers gather near small fires or shaded areas, sharing quiet conversation or observing the monumental structures with gentle reflection. Even these moments of rest are slow, measured, and meditative, allowing both body and mind to transition naturally from work to evening calm. In this scene, the labor on monuments reveals the patient, deliberate rhythm of life that underpins monumental creation. Every chisel stroke, every carefully lifted block, every scaffold adjustment becomes part of a larger meditative cadence. Observation, reflection, and attention to detail are as essential as strength, skill, or endurance. The monumental labor is both functional and contemplative, a testament to the subtle interplay between human effort, time, and environment. As night approaches, shadows deepen, and the distant glimmer of the Nile fades into gentle darkness. The monuments stand partially completed, waiting for the next day's measured labor. Tools are stored, stones left in careful alignment, and the final soft sounds of movement fade. The site settles into a quiet stillness, and the rhythm of life along the Nile slows to match it. The day's work lingers in memory, the touch of stone, the soft scrape of chisel, the gentle scent of earth and river, inviting the mind to drift and rest carrying. You forward into the evening where subtle rituals and quieter aspects of village life will continue to unfold. Part 5. Evening Rituals and Quiet Reflections. As the sun dips lower toward the western horizon, the village and labor sites along the Nile settle into a slower, softer rhythm. Imagine yourself standing quietly on the warm sand, feeling the gentle cooling of the day's heat and noticing the subtle shifts in light as long shadows stretch across courtyards, workshops, and monumental stones. The river reflects the amber sky, glimmering gently as if it were holding its breath. In these quiet hours, the daily labors of bread, beer, crafts, and monumental construction give way to rituals, small observances, and reflective moments that have marked life in ancient Egypt for generations. Villagers begin the evening with small, deliberate acts of domestic routine. Children wash their hands in shallow basins, the water cool and smooth as it slips over their skin. Pots are rinsed, small fires tended, and baskets of stored grain checked for moisture or pests. These tasks are performed slowly, mindfully, with attention to the subtle textures, sounds, and scents of daily life. You can hear the faint splash of water, the soft rustle of woven baskets, and the low murmur of quiet conversation. Every sound contributes to the gentle soundscape of evening, a calm and reflective backdrop that invites both observation and meditation. As twilight deepens, families gather near small hearths. Flames flicker softly, casting dancing shadows on mud brick walls. The smell of cooked grains, roasted vegetables, and dried fish rises, mixing with the faintly resinous aroma of incense or aromatic herbs, often burned to cleanse the space. Meals are simple, yet nourishing. bread broken slowly, beer sipped in small amounts, vegetables and grains eaten with quiet attentiveness. Conversation is gentle, rhythmic, and subdued, with elders sharing stories in low tones, children listening with wide eyes, and the repetition of familiar narratives providing both comfort and continuity. After the meal, some villagers participate in personal or family rituals. A small clay figurine may be arranged on a low shelf, offerings of water, bread, or small tokens placed with quiet reverence. The touch is careful, the movement slow and deliberate. Hands linger on objects, feeling the contours, inhaling subtle scents, and tracing lines etched into clay or wood. These small rituals, though modest, carry centuries of meaning, connecting the individual with ancestors, with deities, and with the broader rhythms of life along the Nile. In this attentive care, even the simplest gestures become meditative, a gentle reflection on continuity, gratitude, and presence. Children often engage in quieter versions of these rituals, mimicking their elders with soft, cautious movements. A small doll may be arranged with care, a bowl of water poured with tentative fingers, or a tiny offering of bread left on a stone ledge. Their motions are careful, deliberate, and absorbing, allowing the young to learn both the physical gestures and the contemplative attention that accompanies them. You can imagine watching quietly as they experiment with touch, scent, and observation, absorbing the atmosphere of calm reverence around them. Meanwhile, laborers returning from monumental work perform their own transitional rituals. Tools are cleaned and stored with precision, garments dusted off, and hands washed in the cool river or nearby basins. Each movement carries a quiet reflection, a gentle acknowledgement of effort completed, and a soft preparation for rest. There is no rush or urgency. The actions are deliberate, measured, and imbued with the subtle pride and satisfaction that accompany careful, attentive labor. The air holds a mixture of earth, stone, and river, lingering as a gentle reminder of the day's exertions and accomplishments. As evening advances, soft sounds emerge across the village and the Nile. Water ripples gently against the riverbank, reeds sway with the lightest breeze, and the occasional low call of birds adds a subtle melody. The combination of sensory experiences, touch, scent, sound, and sight, creates a serene environment, inviting reflection and calming attention. You may notice the faint clatter of a pot being set aside, slow scrape of a bench being adjusted, or the quiet shuffle of someone settling into a familiar spot. Each motion, though seemingly minor, contributes to the overarching rhythm of evening and the slow winding down of the day. In certain households, small fires are lit for evening storytelling or instruction. Elders recount tales of past labors, the construction of temples, or the movements of the Nile, their voices low, steady, and unhurried. These narratives unfold slowly, with repeated phrases and gentle pacing, reinforcing memory, culture, and continuity. You can imagine the warmth of the fire, the soft amber glow, illuminating attentive faces, and the subtle scent of smoke and burning reeds blending with that of evening meals and river air. The mind settles naturally into the rhythm of the story, following each word, pause, and sigh with gentle attention. The quieter streets of the village are filled with subtle sounds as neighbors exchange low greetings or observe small acts of ritual. Soft footstep on packed earth, the faint scrape of a door, the gentle clink of a water vessel. Each contributes to a mosaic of calm activity. The rhythm is neither hurried nor chaotic, instead reflecting a natural, meditative cadence that guides the village from activity to rest. You can imagine walking slowly through these streets, feeling the warm stone under your palms, inhaling the mingling scents of hearth, river, and earth, and hearing the muted chorus of life as the sun dips lower. As the night deepens, more private and introspective rituals emerge. Individuals pause quietly to observe a small shrine, whisper a short prayer, or leave simple offerings of water or grain. The touch is careful, movements deliberate, and attention focused fully on the act at hand. These private moments carry with them a reflective stillness, a gentle acknowledgement of the forces, ancestors, or deities that shape life. In the soft glow of candlelight or dying fire, the gestures are magnified in significance. A quiet bridge between the day's labor and the approaching calm of sleep. The transition from day to night is subtle and immersive. Shadows lengthen and soften, temperatures drop slightly, and the gentle sounds of the river and village become more pronounced against the quiet of evening. The scent of the Nile mingles with smoke, baked grains, and damp earth, forming a complex but soothing sensory environment. Each breath, each step, and each soft murmur encourages reflection, mindfulness, and gentle awareness. The villagers move slowly, each gesture deliberate, each observation quiet, creating a rhythm that is both grounding and restorative. Even in moments of personal reflection, there is a connection to the wider world. A laborer may look toward the pyramids or temples in the distance, observing the silhouette of monumental stones against the fading light. A potter may feel the lingering warmth of the clay in her hands, recalling the day's work. Children may trace fingers over the smooth surfaces of bread loaves or vessels, absorbing tactile memories and quiet lessons. Each connection, subtle and meditative, draws attention gently to presence, continuity, and awareness. The sounds of nocturnal creatures gradually blend with the human rhythms. The soft croak of frogs near the river, the whisper of reeds in the night breeze, or the occasional distant bark of a dog. These natural sounds harmonize with the subdued activity of the village, forming a layered, immersive soundscape that invites gentle observation and relaxation. In this quiet environment, you can feel the mind slowing, the breath deepening, and attention settling into a natural, meditative cadence. As darkness fully descends, small oil lamps and flickering fires illuminate interiors and courtyards with soft amber light. Shadows stretch across mud brick walls, flicker over stone steps, and dance gently on woven mats. The interplay of light and shadow is slow and rhythmic, providing a visual meditation that complements the tactile, auditory, and olfactory richness of the evening. Movements, gestures, and rituals continue at a calm pace, providing continuity and structure while nurturing a sense of peace and attentiveness. Finally, the village gradually moves into rest. Hands are washed, tools stored, hearths extinguished, and doors closed with gentle care. The river glimmers faintly under moonlight, and the sounds of nocturnal life continue softly. The villagers settle into homes, preparing for sleep while reflecting quietly on the day's labor, the rituals observed, and the gentle unfolding of life along the Nile. Every breath, every sensory detail, every memory of movement lingers, creating a seamless transition from activity to stillness, from wakefulness to the slow descent towards sleep. In Scene 5, we have witnessed how evening rituals, reflection, and quiet observation provide both structure and gentle continuity to village life. The smells, textures, sounds, and sights of the Nile at dusk invite calm awareness and meditative reflection. Labor, craft, and observance blend seamlessly into a rhythm of patience and attentiveness, allowing both villagers and observer to settle into the slow, restorative pace of life. As night embraces the village and the soft light of moon and stars touches the river and mud brick walls, we prepare to move further into the meditative world of ancient Egypt, into nighttime reflections, private devotion, and the enduring whispers of gods and ancestors that accompany villagers and laborers alike through the quiet hours. Part 6. Nighttime on the Nile. As the last traces of sunset fade from the horizon, the Nile transforms into a quiet, reflective mirror of the night sky. Imagine yourself standing on the riverbank, feeling the cool night air brush gently against your skin, carrying the faint scent of water, earth, and reeds. The village behind you has settled into stillness, and the gentle hum of daytime activity has been replaced by the subtle rhythms of nocturnal life. The water laps softly against the shore, creating a soothing, continuous cadence that invites the mind to slow and the body to relax. Along the river, small boats drift silently. Fishermen return from laddening nets, moving with careful, deliberate motions to avoid disturbing the calm of the night. Their oars dip into the water with gentle rhythm, producing soft ripples that spread and fade gradually. The occasional whisper of conversation floats across the surface, low and unhurried, merging with the ambient sounds of rustling reeds, distant frog calls, and the whisper of wind over water. Each sound is delicate, almost hypnotic, guiding attention toward calm observation. Villagers move quietly along the riverbank, performing small, measured tasks. Water is drawn in clay jugs, nets are folded and stored, and small fires are tended to provide warmth or light. Every action is performed with a steady hand and careful attention, avoiding sudden movements that might disturb the fragile tranquility of the night. The clink of clay against wood, the soft scrape of tools, and the gentle shuffle of feet across packed earth create a subtle symphony, each sound layered and soft, contributing to the meditative atmosphere. Even the animals of the Nile participate in this quiet nightscape. Frogs croak rhythmically near the shallows, their voices low and resonant, while waterfowl glide silently across the mirrored surface. Crickets and small insects add a delicate percussive layer, their faint chirps forming a continuous, gentle beat. You can feel the presence of life all around you, human and non-human, moving in unison with the slow rhythm of the river and the night sky above. The combination of sounds, scents, and textures creates a deeply immersive environment, encouraging calm, awareness, and reflective observation. In small homes near the river, families gather by dimly lit lamps. The amber glow of oil or resin lamps casts soft shadows on mud brick walls, highlighting the textures of woven mats, wooden furniture, and clay vessels. Children settle quietly near parents or elders, listening to soft stories or learning simple songs. The tones are slow and deliberate, each word or note drawn out with care. Through these stories, children absorb not only language, but also rhythm, patience, and the quiet wisdom of generations. The soft repetition of familiar phrases and gentle narrative pacing invites both listener and observer to relax, to absorb the calm of the evening, and to follow the slow cadence of life along the Nile. Some villagers engage in more personal rituals during this quiet night. A small shrine or figure may be arranged carefully on a low shelf, with offerings of water, grain, or small tokens placed with mindful attention. Hands linger over surfaces, tracing gentle lines, feeling the texture of clay or wood, inhaling faint scents, and observing the interplay of lamplight and shadow. The act is meditative, each movement slow and deliberate, forming a bridge between the day's labor and the introspective stillness of night. The quiet observation nurtures a sense of presence, a gentle connection between self, community, and the surrounding world. On the river itself, reflections of the stars ripple across the surface, shifting slowly with each tiny movement of water. You can imagine following the glimmering patterns with your gaze, noting how the reflections blend with the occasional flicker of lantern light from distant boats. The interplay of darkness and subtle illumination forms a soft visual rhythm, guiding attention gently, almost imperceptibly, toward calm contemplation. Shimmer, each ripple, each shadowed movement encourages the mind to release tension, settling into the natural cadence of nocturnal life. Meanwhile, fishermen may pause midstream, casting nets with quiet concentration. The water absorbs every motion with a gentle sound, a soft splash, a tiny ripple. The rhythmic casting and drawing of nets mirrors the deliberate movements observed earlier in bread and beer making, monument construction, and evening rituals. Every action is purposeful, yet slow, demanding attention without urgency. Fostering a meditative engagement with the physical world, hands, arms, and eyes work together, synchronized in subtle, attentive harmony. Throughout the night, conversations are subdued, measured, and reflective. Words are chosen with care, tones kept low, and pauses are long, giving space for thought and observation. Villagers may share reflections on the day's labor, the subtle patterns of nature, or the quiet milestones of community life. Even in the absence of structured activity, the rhythm of thought, speech, and gentle interaction continues, forming a layered, immersive tapestry of human presence alongside the natural rhythm of the river and surrounding environment. Some adults take time for private reflection near the riverbank. Kneeling or sitting with knees drawn close, they may trace patterns in the sand, observe the flow of water, or let the cool air brush against their face. Hands brush gently over smooth stones or clay vessels, feeling textures, temperatures, and subtle imperfections. Eyes follow the movement of ripples, reeds, and small animals, observing without interference. Each moment becomes a small meditation, a quiet acknowledgement of the interplay between human life, nature, and the slow, persistent passage of time. Children drift toward, sleep gradually, sometimes with small dolls or toys at hand. They may mimic adult gestures in quiet play, arranging small stones, tracing shapes in sand, or folding soft fabric. The motions are tentative and slow, reinforcing patterns of presence, observation, and attentiveness learned through the day. Even in rest, their movements contribute to the gentle cadence of nighttime life along the Nile, forming part of the immersive rhythm that carries the village into full night. Across the river, the faint silhouette of monuments and pyramids catches the moonlight. The enormous stones seem almost ethereal under the soft glow, their outlines softened and elongated. Workers who remain near construction sites move carefully, ensuring stability, checking for safety, and performing the quiet, attentive maintenance required to preserve both progress and structure. Every step, touch, and glance is deliberate, forming a soft dialogue between human labor and monumental stone, creating a calm, reflective interplay of permanence, effort, and careful observation. The combination of natural and human rhythms. Rippling water, soft calls of wildlife, gentle motions of boats, the subdued murmur of conversation, the measured labor of maintenance, produces a layered, continuous sensory experience. You may notice how the cool night air carries subtle scents of river, earth, reeds, and clay, mingling with the faint warmth retained in stone and sand from the day's sun. Each inhalation, each sensory observation, and each reflective thought contributes to a meditative, immersive state, preparing both body and mind for gentle rest. By the middle of the night, most of the village has settled into sleep or near complete stillness. Small fires burn low in the background, casting faint light over walls and pathways. The river flows steadily, carrying the reflections of moon and stars slowly downstream. Occasional nocturnal sounds, the rustle of reeds, the distant call of an owl, or the subtle splash of water, punctuate the soft, continuous hum of night. The entire environment becomes an immersive meditation, each detail inviting calm attention, reflection, and presence. Some individuals take longer to rest, observing the slow movement of water or reflecting quietly on the day's events. Hands may trace the smooth curve of a vessel, fingers brushing sand, or the textures of reeds. Eyes follow shadows as they shift, and settle again, noting minute changes in light, movement, and sound. Breath deepens naturally, following the quiet, persistent cadence of the river, reinforcing relaxation and presence. Each moment becomes part of the slow unfolding of nocturnal life, a continuous, immersive meditation on time, effort, and calm observation. As dawn approaches, the faintest hint of light begins to color the eastern sky. Stars fade gradually, and the river glimmers with the first soft illumination of morning. The village remains still, but subtle movements begin. A pot shifts gently on a ledge. A bird calls softly from reeds, and a distant paddle touches water with minimal sound. The transition from night to early morning is smooth, deliberate, and immersive, offering a natural meditative progression from the quiet attentiveness of night toward the gentle labor and rhythms of a new day along the Nile. Scene 6 captures the quiet, reflective, meditative qualities of nighttime along the Nile. From subtle labor to private reflection. From sensory observation to gentle interaction with natural and human rhythms. The night offers a soothing cadence that prepares both villagers and observer for rest, calm contemplation, and continuity in daily life. Every sound, movement, and scent contributes to an immersive experience, inviting presence, reflection, and the gentle transition toward a new day of labor, ritual, and quiet reflection. Part 7. Secrets of Temples and rituals. As dawn spreads slowly across the Nile, softening the edges of stone and sand with a gentle, golden hue, we move quietly toward the temples and sacred spaces that rise among the riverbanks and desert plains. Imagine yourself approaching these monumental structures with slow, careful steps, feeling the warmth of the sun beginning to touch your skin, smelling the faint mix of stone, dust, and incense lingering from the night's rituals. These temples are more than architecture. They're places of reflection, devotion, and subtle meditation. Where the rhythm of daily life intertwines with centuries of spiritual observance, at the entrances, massive columns rise like silent guardians, their surfaces carved with hieroglyphs and subtle imagery. Each symbol tells a story, and though you may not read the words, you can feel the careful, deliberate attention of the artisans who etched them. Hands once skilled in precise motions have left traces of patience and reflection, small grooves and lines that catch the soft morning light. You might brush your fingers lightly along the cool stone, noticing the texture, the smoothness worn by time, and the faint warmth retained from sunlight. Each detail invites calm observation, and the stillness encourages a measured, reflective pace. Priests and attendants move slowly through the courtyards, performing rituals with deliberate, unhurried motions. Imagine the soft rustle of linen robes as they walk, the faint clinking of ceremonial tools, and the gentle pouring of water or oils into stone basins. The air carries the subtle fragrance of incense, myrrh, frankincense, and dried herbs mingling in a quiet, meditative haze. Every action is precise, performed with attention to both physical detail and spiritual intention. Each movement is repeated daily, a rhythm that comforts both participant and observer, establishing continuity, presence, and awareness. Offerings are prepared quietly in small chambers and outer courtyards. Bread, fruits, and small vessels of beer are arranged on stone tables or shallow basins, each item carefully positioned according to tradition and sacred protocol. Hands move with gentle care, adjusting placement, brushing away stray grains of sand, and ensuring symmetry. The process is methodical and reflective, emphasizing the relationship between human effort and spiritual devotion. In this careful attention, you may feel the mind naturally slow, following each gesture and inhaling the layered scents and subtle sounds of preparation. The priests chant softly at intervals, their voices low and melodic, blending with the subtle creak of doors, the soft patter of sandals, and the occasional ripple of the nearby Nile. The chants are repetitive, measured, and soothing, a gentle auditory backdrop for the rituals taking place. Each word, each pause, and each intonation invites focus and calm, encouraging reflection on time, continuity, and the careful rhythms of sacred observance. Even if the meaning of every chant is not known, the sound itself becomes a meditation, drawing attention toward presence and awareness. Temples often contain inner sanctums, spaces of quiet solitude where incense, water, and small offerings create a gentle, enveloping atmosphere. The air here is cooler, tinged with lingering smoke, the faint scent of stone, and the dryness of sun-baked walls. Hands trace ceremonial vessels or gently adjust small offerings, creating a tactile rhythm that mirrors the auditory and visual patterns of the space. Shadows fall slowly, changing as the sun rises and illuminates carvings and reliefs, providing a subtle, meditative interplay of light and form. Observing this gentle interplay encourages calm, reflective attention. Apprentice priests and attendants move quietly, learning the gestures, chants, and procedures through careful observation. They mimic movements slowly, tracing patterns on stone floors, handling ceremonial objects with deliberate care, and listening intently to the low murmurs of their mentors. These repeated mindful actions train both body and mind to engage fully with the ritual, fostering presence, patience, and attentive awareness. Even minor mistakes are treated with gentle correction, emphasizing process over urgency, reinforcing the meditative pace of the temple. Visitors, such as village elders or travelers from nearby settlements, may arrive quietly to observe or participate. They move slowly, their eyes following gestures, their hands resting gently on carved surfaces, and their voices subdued, respectful of the meditative atmosphere. Small offerings are presented with careful attention, a soft tap on the stone's surface, a measured bow, a whispered acknowledgement of sacred presence. Each action, though subtle, carries weight and significance, reinforcing the connection between individual, community, and the spiritual world. In courtyards and outer spaces, ritual preparation continues at a gentle pace. Linen coverings are smoothed over altars, small fires are tended with care, and vessels are refilled with water or oil. The sound of moving sand, the soft scrape of tools, and the occasional murmured guidance create a layered, subtle soundscape. Each noise, though minor, contributes to the immersive, calming rhythm of the temple environment. Observing these layers encourages mindfulness, drawing attention to the details of texture, movement, and sound without urgency or distraction. Evening approaches, and the temple spaces gradually fill with softer light. Shadows stretch across columns and floors, revealing intricate carvings and subtle reliefs that were nearly invisible in the brighter hours. The air cools slightly, and the scent of incense becomes more prominent, mingling with faint earthiness from stone floors and walls. Activities slow further. Priests move with lighter steps. The preparation of offerings diminishes, and attendants pause for brief reflection or quiet observation. This transition emphasizes the passage of time, guiding all present toward stillness and contemplation. Outside, along the temple walls and surrounding courtyards, small gardens or planted areas may be tended gently. Reeds, flowers, and grasses sway in soft evening breezes, and the faint trickle of water channels adds a subtle, continuous rhythm. Hands brush gently over leaves, flowers are arranged or adjusted, and small pathways are cleared of sand or debris. These minor acts of care, performed without rush, reinforce the meditative quality of temple life and provide sensory engagement that is tactile, visual, and olfactory. Each movement, scent, and sound contributes to a layered experience of presence, patience, and reflection. At nightfall, lamps are lit within inner chambers, casting a soft amber glow. Shadows dance slowly across walls and reliefs, creating patterns that shift imperceptibly. The atmosphere is serene, immersive, and quiet, inviting contemplation and introspection. Observers may sit or kneel quietly, tracing carvings with their eyes or fingertips, inhaling the subtle scents of incense and oils, and listening to the low hum of nocturnal life outside the temple. Even the faint sound of the Nile in the distance becomes part of the meditative rhythm, integrating the natural environment with human effort and ritual observance. In some temples, quiet festivals or special observances occur at night. Participants move slowly, chanting, arranging offerings, or performing gentle processions. Torches flicker softly, highlighting carvings and reliefs while casting elongated shadows. The cadence of movement and sound is deliberate, measured, and repetitive, creating a hypnotic rhythm that encourages reflection, focus, and calm. Each gesture, step, and intonation contributes to the immersive, meditative quality of the space. Even if no observer understands every symbol or chant, the careful, attentive rhythm communicates presence, continuity, and subtle spiritual resonance. Throughout these rituals, there is a strong sense of continuity and stability. Generations have performed these same actions, traced these same carvings, and breathed these same scents. Each repetition reinforces a connection across time, linking past, present, and future in a subtle, meditative continuity. Hands that adjust offerings, fingers that trace hieroglyphs, and eyes that follow ceremonial movement all participate in an enduring rhythm that transcends urgency, encouraging awareness, mindfulness, and calm reflection. By late night, most participants and observers have settled into quiet reflection or rest. Lamps flicker low, incense smoke drifts lazily upward, and the soft murmur of the Nile provides a continuous background hum. The temple itself becomes a meditative space, carrying the cumulative rhythms of labor, attention, and devotion from day into night. Even in stillness, the presence of human effort, repeated gestures, and subtle movement creates a gentle, immersive energy that fosters calm, attentiveness, and reflective awareness. Scene 7 reveals the meditative rhythm of temple life in ancient Egypt. A world of slow, careful gestures, reflective observation, and sensory immersion. From the preparation of offerings to the rhythmic chanting of priests, from apprentice practice to quiet contemplation, each aspect of temple rituals contributes to a continuous, gentle cadence. The interplay of light, shadow, scent, sound, and touch fosters a meditative environment, inviting both participants and observers to settle into calm awareness, attentive presence, and reflective tranquility. As night deepens, the temple stands silent and enduring, bathed in soft moonlight. The low murmur of water, the faint rustle of leaves, and the subtle scent of incense and stone linger in the air. The meditative rhythms of human action and natural environment merge seamlessly, offering both comfort and continuity. Observing, listening, and sensing these rhythms allows you to drift gently toward calm. Reflective rest, preparing for the gradual unfolding of a new day along the Nile. Part 8, resting under the stars as the evening slowly deepens into night. The Nile's gentle currents reflect the soft silver glow of the moon, stretching ribbons of light across the water like liquid silk. Imagine yourself walking along the riverbank, feeling the cool night air brush lightly against your skin. The village, the laborers' camps, and the scattered temple grounds have all settled into a tranquil stillness. The day's sounds, the clatter of pots, the scraping of tools, the murmur of conversation have faded into near silence, leaving only the delicate symphony of nocturnal life, the whisper of reeds in the breeze, the low croak of distant frogs, and the faint ripple of the river against the shore. Huts and homes are dimly lit by flickering oil lamps or small hearth fires. Their amber glow casts soft, dancing shadows along walls and pathways, revealing the subtle textures of mud brick, woven mats, and rough-hewn wood. Families move slowly, attending to last-minute evening tasks. A jug of water set aside for morning use, a small loaf of bread wrapped and stored, a lamp gently trimmed and adjusted. Each movement is deliberate and quiet, performed with the careful attentiveness that marks the rhythm of daily life. Even in these simple acts, there is mindfulness, a gentle meditation upon the textures, sounds, and scents surrounding them. Children, their day of labor and play concluded, curl on mats or within small beds, their limbs relaxed, breaths deepening. Some clutch small clay figurines or cloth dolls, holding them as companions through the slow descent into sleep. Their movements are tentative and measured, mimicking the gestures and rituals they observed during the day. The soft exhalation of breath, the subtle rustle of fabric, and the faint creak of wooden beds form a gentle background, a lullaby of everyday life. You can imagine watching quietly as they settle, the warmth of their small bodies radiating softly into the cool night air, the gentle rise and fall of their chests blending with the rhythm of the river. The village remains mostly silent, yet faint signs of life continue. A dog pads slowly along the riverbank, sniffing and pausing with careful attention, its movements echoing the quiet curiosity of the humans it shares this night with. Farmers or fishermen still awake perform last inspections of their nets, tools, or stored provisions. The motions are slow, careful, and deliberate, emphasizing care, continuity, and mindfulness rather than haste. The sound of water dripping from clay jugs or gentle adjustments of stored grain becomes part of the layered auditory landscape, weaving together natural and human rhythms in a calm, meditative harmony. Along the river, small fishing boats drift gently, their oars resting or touching the water with measured, subtle ripples. The occupants, often elder men or seasoned fishermen, move quietly, checking for wear on lines or nets, brushing the sand from paddles and adjusting small fires for warmth. The night envelops them with gentle darkness, allowing each movement to be deliberate, reflective, and intimate. The soft lap of water against hulls and the occasional whisper of wind through reeds provides a constant, soothing rhythm, echoing the slow, steady pulse of the village as a whole. The sky itself is a quiet spectacle. Stars scatter across the expanse, glimmering faintly, each one a distant point of light that seems almost within reach. The moon's soft radiance illuminates the river and surrounding landscape, revealing textures in stone, sand, and water that would otherwise remain hidden. Shadows stretch and shift imperceptibly, creating a delicate interplay of light and darkness. Observing these movements encourages attentiveness without urgency, a gentle meditation on the passage of time and the enduring presence of nature. Many villagers take this time to pause for reflection, kneeling or sitting near their homes or along the riverbank, hands resting gently on knees or smooth stones. They trace the subtle contours of clay vessels, the woven texture of mats, or the delicate surface of ritual offerings. Eyes follow the river's ripples or the movement of shadows, and breathing becomes synchronized with the slow, continuous rhythm of the natural world. These moments, though quiet and private, embody a deep connection with environment, history, and tradition. A reflective pause that nurtures calm presence and patience. Nighttime in the village also provides an opportunity for gentle storytelling. Elders or parents speaking in soft, deliberate tones recount tales of laborers and builders, of temple rituals, and of the cycles of the Nile. The cadence of their voices, slow, steady, and repeating, blends seamlessly with the ambient sounds of night. Even the pauses between words carry significance, allowing listeners to absorb the atmosphere, the textures, and the gentle unfolding of each story. Children drift toward sleep, lulled not only by the warmth and presence of family, but also by the deliberate, rhythmic cadence of human voice intertwined with the night's natural symphony. In some households, lamps are extinguished early, and families gather near small fires for intimate moments of reflection. The air carries faint hints of smoke, warm bread, or residual incense from temple visits, forming a complex, soothing olfactory tapestry. Hands may adjust small figurines, rearrange offerings, or trace the surfaces of familiar vessels, movements slow and careful. Eyes observe shadow and light, texture and shape, while the mind gently follows a meditative rhythm of attention and reflection. Every gesture, sound, and scent becomes part of the immersive experience, encouraging mindfulness and calm awareness. Along temple grounds near the village, a similar stillness descends. Priests, attendants, and apprentices conclude rituals with careful, deliberate gestures. Incense burns low, oil lamps flicker softly, and ceremonial vessels are cleaned and stored with gentle attention. Steps are light, movements precise, and attention focused entirely on completing tasks with care. Even as the human presence diminishes, the air remains imbued with layers of activity, ritual, and devotion. A calm continuity that stretches across hours, days, and generations. The natural world continues its subtle performance. Frogs croak intermittently near the riverbanks, reeds rustle with the softest of breezes, and occasional distant animals move quietly through the sand and vegetation. Each sound, though faint, becomes part of the layered tapestry of nighttime life. Observing, listening, and breathing with these rhythms, you might feel a gentle slowing of both mind and body, a release of tension, and a deepening awareness of presence in this calm, expansive environment. In some areas, small gatherings occur for quiet meditation or personal prayer. Hands are folded over smooth stones, fingers tracing the outlines of clay vessels, eyes following slow patterns in shadows or reflections on the water. Each gesture is deliberate and unhurried, forming a tactile and visual meditation. The ambient sense of river, earth, smoke, and herbs mix, deepening the sensory immersion. Even when no words are spoken, the layered interactions of movement, sound, scent, and texture communicate presence, continuity, and reflection. By the middle of the night, the village, river, and surrounding landscape exist in a near-perfect harmony of stillness and subtle motion. Light, shadow, sound, scent, and texture blend into a continuous, immersive environment. Breathing becomes slower, muscles relax, and the mind is encouraged to release the day's tension. The gentle rhythm of water, the whisper of wind, the faint warmth of retained sun in sand and stone. all contribute to a calming experience that carries both the human and natural elements into a seamless nocturnal meditation. At the furthest reaches of the Nile's banks, the monumental stones of pyramids and temples rise as silent witnesses to generations of labor, devotion, and reflection. Under the soft glow of moonlight, their surfaces reveal textures softened by wind and time, carved reliefs appearing as subtle, ethereal patterns. Even without understanding every hieroglyph or motif, one can sense the careful, attentive labor and long-standing continuity embedded in each stone. Observing these monuments at night encourages a slow, reflective awareness of history, presence, and the passage of time. As the night reaches its quietest, occasional human movement remains, a guard patrolling slowly, fishermen checking lines, or a villager returning from the river's edge. Their actions are gentle, deliberate, and measured. Each movement contributes to the ambient rhythm without disrupting the pervasive calm. Shadows stretch and bend with the moon's slow passage across the sky. Light glimmers on water and stone, and every small sound blends into a continuous, soothing tapestry. Finally, the village and the Nile settle fully into rest. Most humans and animals lie still, eyes closed or bodies relaxed. Water moves with its gentle, unceasing rhythm, reeds sway softly in the breeze, and stars twinkle faintly overhead. The monumental structures, villages, riverbanks, and distant fields are united in silence, subtle movement, and immersive sensory richness. Observing, listening, and feeling the environment invites deep relaxation, meditative reflection, and preparation for sleep. Part 8 captures the immersive calm and reflective rhythms of night along the Nile. From private reflection and gentle human activity to the continuous, layered presence of natural and monumental elements, the night encourages deep awareness, mindfulness, and gentle meditation. Every scent, sound, touch, and shadow forms a cohesive, calming whole, allowing both villagers and observer to rest under the stars. Comforted by the continuity, presence, and tranquility of life along the river. Part 9. Morning preparations along the Nile. The first pale streaks of dawn appear above the horizon. Faint and delicate at first, like whispers of color slowly dissolving the darkness of night. The stars retreat, their sharp brilliance fading into the growing light, while the moon lingers for a moment longer. Casting its last faint glow over the calm surface of the Nile, the air carries a coolness, touched with the scent of water, earth, and reeds, a freshness that belongs only to the earliest hours of the day. The village stirs gently, almost imperceptibly at first. A rooster crows in the distance, its call echoing faintly across the riverbank, answered by another farther away. The sounds do not break the silence, but rather weave themselves into the stillness, marking the shift from night's quiet to morning's slow unfolding. Doors of mud brick houses creak softly as they open, and the first figures of the day emerge, wrapped in light garments, their movements measured and careful as they adjust to the rising light. Women step out carrying clay jars, walking toward the river with calm, deliberate strides. They balance the vessels with practiced grace, their feet pressing into the soft sand and leaving behind a trail of faint impressions that the morning breeze will soon erase. At the water's edge, they bend with steady motions, filling their jars, listening to the sound of water rushing into clay, then lifting the weight again against their shoulders or heads. The water glistens, catching the pale light of dawn as droplets slip down the sides of the jars. Each action, though repeated countless times across generations, is carried out with a quiet dignity, embodying continuity and care. Elsewhere, men prepare for the day's work. Farmers, wrapped in simple linen kilts, move slowly toward their fields, carrying tools that have rested through the night. The wooden handles are smooth with use, worn down by years of labor and the touch of countless hands. The farmers' steps are unhurried, their bodies moving in rhythm with the day itself. Some pause to examine the ground, feeling the cool texture of soil between their fingers. Testing its readiness for sowing or irrigation, the Nile's waters, drawn into canals and channels, glimmer faintly under the rising sun, carrying life-giving nourishment to the fields. The farmers observe the flow with attentive eyes, noting the subtle shifts and currents that will determine the day's tasks. Inside the village, fires are rekindled. Smoke curls upward in thin, twisting ribbons, carrying the faint aroma of straw and wood. Hearths come alive again, their warmth seeping into homes, where bread will be baked and beer brewed. Women knead dough slowly, pressing and folding with hands that have learned the rhythm from mothers and grandmothers before them. Clay ovens glow faintly as embers awaken, their heat growing steadily. Ready to bake the simple loaves that sustain life along the Nile, the smell of baking bread soon mingles with the fresh morning air, a scent as timeless as the river itself. Children rise gradually, their eyes still heavy from the night's rest. Some stretch and yawn, others rub their faces with small hands, blinking against the growing brightness of the morning. Their tasks are lighter, yet they too share in the preparations. They gather kindling for fires, fetch small amounts of water, or help tend animals. Their laughter, soft and subdued in the early hours, begins to punctuate the stillness, weaving human warmth into the fabric of the morning. Even their play carries a rhythm, echoing the gestures of the adults they watch, as if rehearsing the roles they will one day inherit. The fishermen are among the first to leave the village. Their boats, simple yet sturdy, are guided to the water's edge, pushed gently into the slow current. Oars dip into the river with smooth, deliberate strokes, creating ripples that spread outward in soft, expanding circles. Nets are checked, lines adjusted, and small fires on the shore extinguished as the men move silently toward deeper waters. The sound of wood creaking against water of oars, slicing gently into the current blends with the natural chorus of morning. The call of birds rising from the reeds. The croak of frogs retreating to stillness, the rustle of palm leaves in the breeze. Along the temple grounds, priests begin their own preparations. The sanctuaries quiet through the night, awaken to ritual. Attendants sweep the floors with soft brushes of palm fiber, clearing away the dust of the previous day. Incense is lit, its fragrant smoke rising in slow, curling patterns toward the sky. Oil lamps are trimmed, their flames adjusted to burn steadily. Statues of the gods resting within inner sanctums are uncovered with solemn reverence, their features revealed again to the rising light. Ritual vessels are polished and filled, offerings of bread, beer, and fruit arranged carefully, each gesture deliberate, each motion a repetition of countless mornings before. For these priests and attendants, the morning is not simply the beginning of a new day, but a reenactment of cosmic order. Each act of preparation is imbued with meaning, aligning human rhythm with the divine. As the villagers fetch water, knead bread, and tend animals, so to do, the priests restore balance to the universe, ensuring that the gods are honored, that the river continues to flow, and that the sun rises without fail. The soft chanting of prayers carried on low voices adds a meditative cadence to the atmosphere. Blending with the natural sounds of the world, the animals of the village stir with equal rhythm. Donkeys bray softly, shifting in their enclosures as they are given feed and water. Cattle low in the distance, their movements slow as they are led toward fields or prepared for labor. Goats bleat gently as children scatter feed, their nimble movements weaving between legs and baskets. Chickens scratch at the ground, their faint clucks rising in bursts, mingling with the laughter of children and the soft conversations of adults. Even these small sounds, mundane and repetitive, form part of the layered symphony of morning along the Nile. As the sun climbs higher, the golden light spreads across the land, painting the river, fields, and homes with warmth. The coolness of night begins to fade, replaced by the growing heat of day. Shadows lengthen briefly, before shrinking under the sun's steady ascent. The villagers adapt to the change, adjusting clothing, shading their eyes with hands, and preparing themselves for hours of labor under the relentless sky. The transition is neither hurried nor resisted. It is accepted with the same patience and continuity that has guided life for centuries. Breakfast is shared in many households, simple yet nourishing. Bread, dipped in beer, or eaten with onions, complemented by fruits or cheese when available. Families gather quietly, speaking in low voices, their conversations practical yet affectionate. Children sit beside parents, learning through observation the unspoken rituals of daily life. The act of eating is itself slow, deliberate, and communal, reinforcing bonds and preparing minds and bodies for the tasks ahead. The sounds of the village swell as morning advances. Hammers strike gently against stone as craftsmen begin their work. The steady scrape of chisels, the rhythmic pounding of mallets, and the clatter of tools join the morning chorus. Farmers move steadily across fields, their calls to animals drifting faintly through the air. Fishermen pull in early nets, their voices low as they share the modest results of their first cast. The priests chant within temple walls, their prayers rising and falling like the tide, blending with the hum of daily labor. The village, once quiet and tentative, now hums with life, each action purposeful, each sound woven into the continuous tapestry of existence. As you picture this scene, notice how every gesture and sound carries not urgency, but rhythm. Morning along the Nile is not a race, but a slow awakening, each step measured, each task connected to a larger cycle of life. The river flows steadily, the sun rises predictably, and the people move with a patience born of centuries, living in harmony with both. By mid-morning, the village is fully alive. Fields are worked, nets are cast, loaves are baked, prayers are spoken, and children play at the edges of labor. The Nile continues its quiet journey, reflecting the light of the sky and sustaining all that surrounds it. The morning preparations, carried out with steady care, have given shape to the day, grounding life once again in the balance of tradition, nature, and devotion. And so the rhythm continues, timeless, patient, and enduring. Part 10. The Weight of the Sun, as morning stretches into day. The light of the sun grows brighter, clearer, and more commanding. What began as a gentle glow at dawn soon becomes a firm and steady presence, pouring down over the Nile and the lands it nourishes. The cool air of night has long slipped away, and in its place, warmth spreads slowly, layer by layer, until it begins to press down with unmistakable weight. The people of the village know this pattern well. For them, the rising sun is both gift and trial, a source of life and growth, yet also a force to endure. Its heat nurtures the crops and ripens the fruit, but it also drains strength and demands patience. The Nile offers balance, its waters shimmering under the growing light, reflecting a brilliance that dazzles the eyes and leaves the air heavy with moisture and scent. In the fields, farmers work steadily beneath the sun's deepening gaze. Their tools strike the earth with practiced rhythm, each motion unhurried but consistent. Wooden plows, pulled by cattle, carve narrow furrows through the soil, while hands scatter seeds into the grooves with quiet precision. The sun above seems to watch their labor without pity or pause, its warmth steadily transforming into heat, its brightness almost blinding. Yet the farmers continue, their skin darkened by years beneath its glow, their movements measured to conserve energy as the hours pass. Children, too, adjust their play to the sun's strength. Their laughter becomes softer, their running shorter as they retreat into shaded corners or follow mothers to cooler spots by the riverbank. There, under palm trees and papyrus reeds, the air feels lighter, the water offering relief as it laps gently at the shore. The children splash, fetch water, or help with washing clothes, their tasks simple but grounding, anchoring them to the cycle of daily life that endures no matter how heavy the sun may grow. The craftsmen within the village feel the weight as well. In workshops where stone is cut and wood is shaped, the air thickens as the day advances. Sweat gathers on brows, dripping slowly, absorbed into linen garments already darkened by use. Still the work continues. Chisels tapping steadily against limestone. Fibers twisted into rope. Pottery spun carefully on wheels. The sound of effort fills the air, blending with the hum of insects and the faint rustle of reeds swaying in the hot breeze. Each craftsman learns to pace himself, working slowly but without stopping, resting hands when needed, then resuming with the same patience.
Ow.
Along the river, fishermen pull in their nets, now heavy with the morning's catch. The fish glisten in the light, their scales flashing briefly like fragments of silver, before they are gathered into baskets. The fishermen wipe their foreheads with rough cloths, their movements calm and deliberate. Some return to shore, bringing the catch to families or preparing to sell at nearby markets. Others remain on the water, casting lines again, watching the ripples, their bodies swaying gently with the current. The Nile itself offers no respite from the sun's light. Its surface sparkles and burns with reflected brilliance. But its waters, cool to the touch, provide relief for those who know where to pause and drink. The priests and temple attendants, too, feel the sun's weight as they carry out their rituals. Within the temple walls, shadows remain, offering coolness in the deeper chambers. Yet even here the air grows heavy as the stone absorbs the sun's warmth. Oil lamps burn steadily, incense coils upward, and chants echo through the sanctuaries. The rituals of midday are deliberate and slow, as if acknowledging the need for patience beneath the sun's dominance. Offerings are refreshed, prayers are spoken with measured tones, and the statues of the gods, bathed in both shadow and light, seem to embody the balance between endurance and reverence. Animals retreat where they can. The cattle find shade near clusters of trees, flicking their tails against flies. Goats press themselves against walls, lying down in the dust. Donkeys, when not led to labor, rest in simple shelters, their brays subdued in the thick air. Birds circle high above, their wings cutting sharp patterns against the sky, before descending again to water's edge. Even the smaller creatures of the earth adjust, lizards slipping into cracks between stones, beetles burrowing into sand, insects hiding within reeds. Each being responds in its own way to the weight of the sun, guided by instinct and necessity. As midday approaches, meals are prepared. Bread baked earlier in the morning is shared along with beer that offers both nourishment and refreshment. Onions, dates, and cucumbers appear in baskets, their simple flavors providing sustenance beneath the sun's watch. Families gather briefly in shaded spaces, speaking softly, sharing what has been caught, grown, or stored. Eating is not hurried but steady, a pause in the rhythm of labor, a chance to restore strength. By now the sun stands high, its heat strong and unrelenting. The shadows shrink to narrow lines, pressed tightly beneath walls, trees, and bodies. The ground radiates warmth, the air shimmers faintly above the river and fields, and each breath carries the weight of the sun's presence. For those who labor outside, each movement feels slower, yet each task continues with quiet persistence. It is not a struggle, but an acceptance, a recognition that the sun cannot be resisted, only endured, as it has been for countless generations. The Nile itself becomes a place of refuge. Some villagers bathe in its waters, letting the current wash over them, cooling their skin, lifting the heaviness for a moment. Others fetch water in clay jars, pouring it over hands and faces, feeling the relief as the liquid runs down. Children wade at the edges, their laughter lightening the atmosphere. While animals are led to drink, their movements calmer after refreshment. The river, as always, balances the sun's strength with its own gift of relief, offering calm amid the heat. Within homes, the air grows still. Doors are left slightly ajar to allow the faintest breeze. Mats are laid out on floors, and some lie down for brief rest. Conversations quiet, replaced by the hum of insects and the distant calls of workers in the fields. The village does not fall silent, but it slows, its rhythm adjusting naturally to the sun's weight. Those who cannot stop find shade when they can, shifting tasks to less demanding motions, waiting for the afternoon to bring relief. The hours of midday stretch long, but they carry a certain peace as well. The brightness, though heavy, reveals every detail of the land with clarity. The palm leaves gleam with green, the mud brick walls glow with warm tones, and the river sparkles with endless motion. The land itself seems to breathe beneath the sun, enduring patiently, its people in harmony with its rhythm. As the afternoon progresses, the sun begins its slow descent. Its weight does not lessen immediately, but its angle changes, casting longer shadows again. As the air, while still warm, begins to shift, carrying the first hints of evening's approach. Farmers look to their fields with satisfaction. Fishermen prepare to return with their catch. Craftsmen set down tools to rest their hands, and families anticipate the quiet of the evening meal. The weight of the sun, though demanding, has been borne with patience and rhythm, just as it always has. For the people of the Nile, its heat is both challenge and blessing, shaping their lives, nourishing their crops, and reminding them of the eternal balance between hardship and sustenance. And so, the day begins to turn once more, moving gently toward the softer hours of evening. Part 11. Shadows of Evening. As the weight of the sun begins to ease, its fiery presence sinking lower into the western horizon, the Nile Valley is bathed in a softer glow. Shadows lengthen across the mud-brick homes, across the fields where the day's laborers have begun to lay down their tools, and across the monuments whose stone faces seem to shift into new expressions under the gentler light. The oppressive glare of the midday hours has passed, replaced by a gentler warmth, yet it carries with it the heaviness of fatigue, a reminder of the day that is unfolded in toil and ritual. The villagers move slowly now, as if every gesture is marked by the awareness that the day is reaching its end. Men return from the fields, their linen garments dusted with the fine powder of earth, their feet hardened by hours of walking on rough ground. The farmers lead their animals back to simple shelters, the braying of donkeys and the low groan of oxen mingling with the more distant songs of birds preparing to roost. Even the river seems to shift tone, its waters flowing in quieter currents, no longer dazzling with the intensity of sunlight, but catching instead the muted gleam of dusk. In these hours, families gather once more around their hearths. The heat of the day lingers in the walls of their houses, but the air begins to cool, carrying with it a breeze from the desert. Small lamps are lit, fueled by oil, their flames flickering softly against clay walls, casting shadows that dance like silent storytellers. Children sit cross-legged, their chatter softened now, while elders share words that fall somewhere between conversation and reflection. This is not the time for urgent tasks, but for quiet acknowledgments, for recognizing the rhythm of life that has carried them from dawn to dusk. The evening meal is a humble affair, much like the breakfast, but touched with the satisfaction of having endured another day. Flatbread, torn carefully into pieces, is dipped into bowls of lentils or beans stewed with onions. Sometimes there is fish drawn fresh from the Nile, roasted with herbs, its smell carrying through the village lanes. Beer, still warm from the fermentation jars, is poured into simple cups. There is laughter, yes, but it is subdued, as if the voice itself becomes gentler in the face of night's arrival. Beyond the village, the great monuments, those colossal temples and unfinished tombs that loom upon the horizon also, take on a different character under the evening sky. Their shadows stretch long across the sand, and for those who look upon them, there is a reminder of the permanence of stone compared to the fleeting nature of human life. Workers who have spent their day carving hieroglyphs or dragging blocks of limestone step away now, their muscles aching their hands, blistered but their hearts bound to the knowledge that their labor contributes to something greater, something that will stand long after their names are forgotten. For the priests in the temple, the setting sun is no ordinary sight. It is Ra himself, descending into the underworld, beginning his perilous journey through the night, so that he may rise again in the east. Incantations are murmured, lamps lit before altars, and offerings of bread, beer, and incense placed carefully, as if to steady the god's passage. The sacred rituals of evening mirror the lives of the common people. Both seek protection, both seek renewal, both trust that the world will awaken once again. The atmosphere of dusk is filled with layers of sound and silence. Crickets begin their chorus in the reeds. Frogs call from the riverbanks, their voices a rhythm as old as the Nile itself. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barks, then falls quiet. These sounds blend into a background hum, the music of a land that has lived and breathed through countless generations. Above, the first stars emerge, faint at first, then gradually piercing the indigo sky with steady light. To the villagers, those stars are not distant, unreachable suns. They are guides, companions, symbols of gods and ancestors who look down with watchful eyes. It is in these hours that reflection comes most naturally. The farmer thinks of the furrows he has plowed and wonders whether the next flood will be generous or withholding. The craftsman, his hands still sore, ponders whether his work will endure in the temples he helps build. Mothers tuck their children into beds woven from reeds, whispering songs that remind them of safety, even in a world where illness, accident, and fate are constant shadows. The old think of lives lived, of days remembered, and wonder how many evenings remain to them beneath the same ever-persistent stars. As the air cools further, villagers step outside their homes to sit upon thresholds, their eyes lifted to the heavens. The desert beyond their cultivated fields stretches into the unknown, but the river runs steady, reassuring them that life flows on. The stars overhead are arranged into stories, into myths that have been told countless times, stories of battles between gods, of journeys across the sky, of a balance between chaos and order. The people find comfort in these tales, not only because they explain the mysteries of the world, but because they remind them that their own struggles are part of a larger, eternal cycle. For the soldiers stationed near the edges of villages, or along the great monuments, the evening brings another rhythm still. Their duty does not end with the sun. They pace slowly with spears in hand, their eyes adjusting to the dim light, listening for any disturbance in the night. They too feel the pull of fatigue, but duty binds them to their post. The weight of protection rests heavily upon their shoulders, yet it is also a source of pride, for in their vigilance lies the safety of their people. And so the evening deepens. Lamps flicker, then burn low, until the stars themselves become the primary illumination. The constellations shine brighter, the Milky Way stretching like a celestial river across the heavens. The Nile reflects that same brilliance, its waters shimmering as though heaven and earth are one, as though the gods themselves walk upon the surface. Sleep does not come all at once. For some it drifts in slowly, cradling them as they lie upon mats of woven reed. For others wakefulness lingers, thoughts carried away like boats upon the current of the river. Dreams will come, dreams of gods and ancestors, of work yet to be done, of journeys not yet taken. And with those dreams, the unbroken cycle of life continues, night leading to morning, darkness to light, shadow to renewal. In the shadows of evening, the people of ancient Egypt find both weariness and peace. They accept that hardship is woven into the fabric of their days, but they also embrace the rituals, the stories, and the shared bonds that sustain them. Tomorrow the sun will rise again, and with it, the same burdens and the same blessings. For now, though they rest, cradled by the calm of the night, under the watchful eyes of gods and stars beneath the eternal sky of their land. Part 12. Reflections beneath the eternal sky. The night has fully descended, wrapping the Nile Valley in a velvet cloak of stillness. Where only hours before the air had shimmered with heat and echoed with the bustle of labor, now there is calm, punctuated only by the whisper of the breeze through reeds and the rhythmic chorus of nocturnal creatures. Lamps have burned down to faint embers within village homes, their smoke curling gently into the air, fading against the vastness of the heavens above. Families have laid their heads upon woven mats, drifting into dreams that carry them to places both familiar and mysterious. Above them, the eternal sky stretches in all directions. The stars, sharp and unblinking, crowd the heavens in a display that feels endless. To the people of ancient Egypt, these are not just distant lights. They are deities, guardians, and signs of order in the universe. Orion strides across the sky, reminding them of Osiris, the great god of resurrection and the afterlife. The circumpolar stars, those that never set, are seen as immortal spirits, forever circling the heavens, unending in their watchfulness. The Milky Way glimmers like a celestial river, twin to the Nile itself, carrying with it stories of creation and journeys of the soul. In this moment of stillness, one can imagine lying upon the warm earth, gazing upward, the concerns of the day dissolving beneath the immensity of the night. The endless expanse of stars offers a different kind of comfort, one that transcends bread, water, or shelter. It is the reassurance that no matter how brief or difficult a human life might be, it is part of something larger, something unshaken by the passage of time. The villagers sleep, but the priests within temple precincts remain wakeful. Their rituals do not end with the setting sun. Follow the god Ra on his perilous journey through the underworld. Within sacred chambers lit only by flickering oil lamps, chants are whispered in ancient tongues, summoning protective spells and guiding light for the solar bark that carries the god through 12 gates of darkness. In their voices, one can hear both reverence and fear. For the night is not merely absence, but a domain of hidden forces, both protective and dangerous. The soldiers, too, remain vigilant. Along the edges of cultivated land, where fertile soil gives way to desert, guards keep watch. The horizon, though barely visible, seems endless and empty. They hold their spears close, listening for sounds carried by the wind. These men, trained to defend the borders of their villages or the treasures of the temples, feel the weight of responsibility pressing upon them most strongly in the silence of night. Their eyes wander often upward, to the sky, as if the constellations themselves offer reassurance. For the craftsman who has laid down his chisel, the farmer who has put aside his hoe, the mother who has quieted her child, and the elder who rests his bones weary with age, this night is part of a cycle that stretches back generations. They have lived this rhythm countless times before, and their ancestors lived it too, all under the same sky. The constellations have watched over them for millennia, as they will continue to do long after their names are forgotten. In this there is a profound continuity. Human lives are short, but they are not meaningless, for they are woven into the eternal fabric of their land and their gods. When sleep comes deeply, it is not always restful. Dreams for the ancient Egyptians are bridges between the world of the living and the divine. A dream may carry a message from a god, a warning, or a glimpse of fate yet to come. Some sleep in peace, their dreams filled with visions of fertile fields and abundant harvests. Others stir restlessly, visited by omens or fears, for the unseen realm is always close. In morning, dreams will be discussed quietly, weighed for meaning, their messages either feared or embraced. The desert beyond the Nile lies silent, its sands cooling under the stars. Dunes stretch endlessly, their shapes shifting under moonlight, whispering reminders of time's slow passage. To the Egyptians, the desert was both a place of danger and of eternity. It was the realm of Seth, the unpredictable god of chaos, but also the home of countless tombs, the final resting place of those who had crossed from this world into the afterlife. Beyond the cultivated valley, the desert was a boundary between life and death, between order and chaos, between the known and the unknown. And so the night wears on. The villagers breathe in unison, their lives tied to one another not only by blood and community, but by the shared experience of existing in this land, beneath this sky, at this time. The silence of night is never complete. There is always the murmur of insects, the occasional bark of a dog, the call of a night bird, but these sounds, far from disturbing, become part of the gentle lullaby of Egypt itself. In such stillness, one can reflect upon the paradox of ancient Egyptian life. The people were bound to daily hardship, laboring under the sun, enduring hunger, fearing disease, yet they carried within them a profound sense of stability and belonging. Their lives were anchored by the river that never ceased its flow, by the monuments that rose as though eternal, and by the sky that wrapped their world in its endless embrace. If you were to walk through a village now, under this deep night, you would see doorways closed, lamps extinguished, and courtyards quiet. Yet you might also glimpse the faint glow of a temple torch in the distance, or hear the faint rustle of papyrus reeds along the riverbank. Each sign whispers the same truth, that life continues, unbroken, in cycles too vast to measure by a single day. The final hours of night pass slowly. The stars wheel overhead, their movement so gradual it seems invisible, yet they trace eternal patterns that have guided generations of farmers, priests, and kings. Time itself feels different beneath these skies, less like a rushing current, more like a steady turning. A great wheel that carries all lives forward, yet returns them always to familiar places. Dawn, dusk, flood, harvest, birth, death, renewal. At last a faint glow appears upon the eastern horizon. The darkness thins, and the air grows cooler still. The first bird calls, breaking the quiet with a tentative note. The Nile reflects the earliest light, shimmering with promise. The stars begin to fade, one by one, as the god Ra approaches once more, victorious in his journey through the night. The villagers stir. Some shift upon their mats, sensing instinctively that dawn is near. Others open their eyes slowly, pulling themselves from dreams back into waking life. The eternal sky that had seemed so vast and endless now yields to the sun, the daily companion of all who live upon this land. Another day will begin, another cycle of labor, of ritual, of hardship and survival. Yet in the quiet moments, in the reflections beneath the night sky, there is strength to face it. For though their lives are short and filled with challenges, the people of ancient Egypt live with the assurance that they are part of something eternal, the river that nourishes, the monuments that endure, the gods who watch, and the sky that stretches forever above them. Beneath that eternal sky, they find meaning. Beneath that eternal sky, they rest. And so, as one night gives way to another dawn, the story of ancient Egypt continues, not in the voice of kings or the grandeur of monuments, alone, but in the quiet lives of ordinary people who rise with the sun, toil beneath it, and sleep once more beneath the stars, their lives woven seamlessly into the eternal rhythm of their land.